In 2025, you are flooded with information. And let me tell you, if information alone was the answer, everyone would be a billionaire with rippling six packs. Since it isn't the information, the most important educational tool in today's modern era is accountability. And it's accountability through personalized, customized coaching. And that is why in 2025, online coaching is the best business model that you can be entering into. And I'm gonna tell you exactly why. Now, when I think about the best business model, I think about it from a few different metrics. Firstly, I look at market growth. Do we have a growing market? And within that market, do we have pain and do we have purchasing power? These three determinants alone, pain, purchasing power, and market growth, are some of the most important determinants and metrics that you can be looking at when you are going into business. These are what become our external factors. Our internal factors are, does the business model have high margin, high scalability, and high levels of freedom and leverage against our time? Once you have those external factors and those internal factors, you are on to a winning business model. Now, if I think about all the business models out there, particularly online, these are things from low ticket offers, e-commerce, agency or service offers, or SaaS and technology. I still believe that high ticket online coaching comes out on top of all of these other contenders. And this is when I look at external factors. So things like, is it in a growing market? Do you have purchasing power and do you have pain? And the internal factors of high margins, high scalability, and high levels of freedom. Now, inside the online coaching space, I can zoom out and look at a macro level. The macro level means that I'm looking at the landscape from a high level lens. We're looking down with a bird's eye view and looking at what is the total accessible market that we can address with this offer. And when I think about the coaching space, I look at the education market, particularly online. By 2030, we are set to hit $500 billion as a total global market cap, which is just humongous, and it is growing so fast. The reason it's growing fast is that we trust faster than ever online, and the ability to create content has become so much easier. The keys to the kingdom of content and distribution are no longer in the hands of high-level professional videographers that requires expensive camera equipment and a long time to upskill. We can do everything we want to and reach massive audiences of millions and millions of people with an iPhone, with literally what is sitting in your pocket. This has given the keys back to the people and to people who want to build scalable online coaching businesses in 2025 and beyond. Because of this, we are seeing a massive influx of e-learning and coaching as a viable business opportunity. Social media is responsible for this, and for right or wrong, it has completely collapsed the disparity between experts and consumers. As a result, consumers are now being considered the expert. Anyone can go on TikTok and give a review. Anyone can go on Instagram and post a reel and they can voice their opinion. Right or wrong in terms of the information that's being spread, it gives the keys and the opportunity back to everyday people. Everyday people that aren't necessarily experts in their field, but have learned valuable skills that then they can coach and teach other people. This also prefaces the idea that when we are going to find a coaching service and a valuable service, we use TikTok and Instagram like search engines. We search in and we try and find industry experts and leaders, and we validate their level of expertise against their following. Whether this is right or wrong, whether this is credible or not, it has been shown time and time again that consumers are searching up people on Instagram and on TikTok to determine whether they deliver a good service. So having a personal brand as a coach is not an option anymore. It is an absolute must in 2025, because otherwise you are just going to be lost in the noise. And I see this time and time again. It's not the best coach that wins, it's the best marketeer. And for right or wrong, what ends up happening is these coaches that have amazing services and amazing fulfillment get lost in the noise of social media because they don't know how to market and position themselves. We also have growing demand for highly personable and highly tailored types of coaching. This is why I always recommend going high ticket. With the rise of AI, we're going to have more generic PDFs, templates that can just be generated at the click of a finger. The barrier to supply for these has dropped dramatically, and as a result, it is a race to the bottom trying to sell low ticket. Without the humanized touch of high ticket coaching, you completely miss the mark on where the biggest opportunity is in 2025. With the rise of AI and technology, we're going to see a continuous supply of these generic one-off PDFs. And as a result, the price for these is going to continue to drop. Whereas the supply of high-ticket coaching that allows you to give a personalized and customized experience for each client is going to become ever more valuable in a world that is heading more and more into the digital era. The most important thing for any business to survive is not only do you have cash flow, but you have cash flow that comes in at a high margin. AKA, once you're all set and done, once you've paid all of your expenses, how much do you actually take home? Now, this is one of the biggest differences I see from agency owners or e-commerce, where they spit off these large revenue numbers, but no one is talking about what their gross margin is. The reality is, in an online coaching business, you can pretty much run it up to 50K a month with just you behind the offer. You don't need to hire a whole lot of people. You don't have any fixed income. Your biggest expense normally is once you outsource sales, and that is on commission. So you're losing 10 to 15% on your setter and closer. And as a result, that scales with your revenue. So once you take into account, you've got an 85% margin business, and then there's a few other software costs, but ultimately there are not many overheads to scale your offer. This is compared to an agency model where you're hiring editors, videographers, copywriters, all of the things that are required to actually fulfill on the service that you're selling. Same with e-commerce, where you have the margin of the product, where you have manufacturing, you have minimum order quantities. Once you move into this online coaching space, it is packed with an incredibly high margin. The reason being is because you are not being valued on the cost of your service. You are being valued on the time it has taken to acquire that skill. There's a famous quote, and one that I love, of Picasso taking 30 minutes to sketch up a beautiful drawing for this person. He then charges her an equivalent of $10,000. And the person says, but why am I paying $20,000 an hour? And he says, because you are paying for the decades of experience that has gone in to enable me to create this drawing in 30 minutes. You do not pay for the 30 minutes of time allocated to the artwork. You pay for the decades of experience. And in this case, you also pay for the value and the supply and demand of Picasso's artwork. It is the same here for a high ticket coach. You are paying for the decades of experience that they have at shortcutting the result that you are after. You are also paying in a supply and demand. By definition, delivering a higher ticket service that requires more personalization and more human touch points has less supply. As you reduce the supply, the price goes up. And this is where demand meets supply at a higher price equilibrium, rather than in a low ticket offer where you're increasing the supply and therefore lowering the price that you sell at. I highly, highly recommend that you double down on high ticket pricing strategies. It is far better to service less customers, but service them at a higher margin and a higher revenue so that you can deliver a better service for each individual customer. This is the business model that I've used to build 2 7-figure coaching businesses, one in health and one in wealth. Next is that you are leveraging existing skills. Unlike a product-based company where you need to go and find a manufacturer, you need to build research and development and pump a lot of money behind building a prototype, you are leveraging your existing skills. You already have these skills today, and you can go to market with them tomorrow very easily. Your MVP can be so quick and dynamic because you can adjust it to each client as they come through that door. That is the beauty of high ticket customized coaching, is that when you bring on, you are solving the problems for your client in real time. As you build more scalable models, you will repeat and solve the same problems again and again. This gives you economies of scale on the back end because you can begin to build frameworks and blueprints that can be applied for multiple clients as they come through that door. The beauty of this is that anyone with lived experience who has gone and got a result has the ability to monetize their knowledge in the digital era. While this makes entry easy, if you have gone and got the results and done the thing, the defensibility is high. Now, prior to the online coaching boom that we are currently in, this was already happening. It just happened over a longer time horizon. You would see people coming in, live a fruitful and prosperous career. Maybe they would exit a company or they would sit on a board in a C-suite executive role. And once they finish up, in the later end of their career, they would become consultants. They would leverage the knowledge and lived experience they've had over the breadth of their career and apply it to maybe startups for some sort of equity arrangement or consulting for multiple companies and sit on the board. Now what we're seeing is this is being condensed over a much shorter time horizon. You could scale an agency to $10,000 a month, and now you know you can sell that lived experience back to someone who is starting out and wants to know how to get that agency to 10K a month. You have the lived experience and you have the knowledge and frameworks frameworks that have worked for yourself. So now you can engage in a coaching service where you take someone from A, where they are starting today, to B, where you have gotten to, in a faster and more efficient process. They are buying back their time instead of going through the trials and tribulations of figuring out themselves to get the result faster. This is how the basis of coaching and consulting works. It's always existed, but it's existed over longer time horizons and over people's entire careers. In 2025, we can reduce this time horizon and assess what is the lived experience that we have gone through today, where have we got in terms of our results, and now market that back to the people that are first starting. This is what creates an online coaching offer, and through lived experience, through frameworks, and through shortcutting the results that we have already got is how we monetize our knowledge. Inside a high ticket offer, you're gonna have premium clients and premium problems. Now, there's two great things about this. Firstly, working with premium clients means that they are more dedicated to solving these problems than people that are just coming in at a lower barrier to entry. They are more serious about the problems. They're already thinking and treating their business like a business. The more we can speak B2B, business to business, the easier it is to work with these clients. I've worked with many people. I've sold low ticket and I've sold high ticket, and I guarantee the clients that come in on high ticket are far more devoted to solving the problems long term. They hold themselves more accountable and are more dedicated to solving these problems from the very beginning. I would rather work with a handful of clients that generates me $10,000 a month than be selling something on low ticket and have to sell hundreds, if not thousands of copies to generate the same amount of income. Although low ticket feels super scalable, the reality is we are so disconnected from the outcome that often the results and the testimonials do not stack up because we don't have any humanized touch points to them. Selling off-the-shelf solutions can only get us so far, and the coaching dynamic is what allows you to customize and personalize the offer to make sure it's going to work for each individual client. This results in more testimonials and better results for the total coaching offer, which can then be used to promote your offer and drive conviction that the offer does what it says it does. Beyond just having more revenue and more personalized touch points with each individual client that walks through their doors, the higher investment also means a higher level of commitment from the client, which means better results, stronger testimonials, and more sales in the long run. The breadth of tools available to coaches today makes it incredibly scalable. We have one-person shows that are generating over $50,000 to $100,000 a month. And the way they do it is through automated tools. Things like GHL, Make.com, Metrical, Everfit, ManyChat, these tools that are available to us at a relatively low price that allow us to leverage and scale our time to essentially wear multiple hats in the business at once. Once we know how to master these tools, you need a skeleton operation to be running the back end while you can sit in marketing, build a strong personal brand, manage your sales and your clients at scale. The coaching tools available to us have never been cheaper and more accessible. You just have to know where to find them. I'm going to be dropping all of the software tools that you need in my Coach's Playbook guide, which is going to be linked at the bottom of this YouTube video. If you want to grab a copy, I highly recommend clicking the link and checking it out. It's everything I needed to go from $0 to $50,000 a month and all of the tools that you need as well. People trust online more than ever before. People with only 2,000 followers can land clients at 5K. The reason I know this is I've done it myself, and I've also got people inside Amplify that are closing high ticket clients with less than 5,000 followers. The reason being is that with the volume of content that is being produced today, we trust even easier in the digital landscape. As long as we see the person, understand their vibe, value structure, and their content relates to actually solving the problem that we want solved, we are willing to trust online immediately. We are so willing to hand over our credit card details and to pass our information online. And this is just the reality of the digital era that we live in. Things like TikTok Shop have raised the stakes for e-commerce and the feeling that we can just depart with cash online in a very, very short amount of time. We trust greater than ever, and our customer journey from awareness all the way through to purchase has been reduced significantly with the volume of content that is going out. That's why coaches in 2025 need to be generating content daily, because the more pieces of content we can get in front of a prospective lead is going to convert them into a client a lot faster. The best part is that in 2025, if you want to compete and you're just starting out, you compete on your level of personability. This is why you should always start high ticket. When you have less followers, you have less leads to spend speak to, and therefore less potential clients to bring on. How you compete is by comparing yourself to the big players and saying, well, you could go with X down the road with 10,000 clients, but you're just going to be a number to them. Whereas if you go with me, I need you to work. I'm trying to transfer online. I want you to be a testimonial for my business. As a result, you justify the level of personability and the one-on-one connection of the coaching dynamic that you are going to give them inside the offer. This reassures them that not only are you the person to solve their problems, but also that you are going to give a high level of personability in the long run. This then switches to become your social proof in the future, which is when you have 10,000 client testimonials, you leverage those for social proof, allowing people to trust you faster and to buy from your offer sooner. This is a recession-proof and AI-proof business. The high-ticket coaching requires a personal human touch, which cannot be outsourced by AI. Although we may use AI tools to increase our productivity, the reality is the coaching dynamic cannot be outsourced to a computer. You need to have a humanized, personalized touch, which makes the coaching offer unique, high-ticket, and high value for the client. Inside the markets that I address, we are never going to lose the desire for health, wealth, or relationships. These are all tied to status, and one of the underlying drivers in nearly all of the purchasing decisions for these leads and clients. No matter what technological advances come, recessions come, or AI technologies are developed, these are going to remain in high demand. Unlike AI-generated PDF or templates, human accountability and transformation cannot be automated away. Ultimately, people are willing to pay premium prices to get premium results. If you've ever heard the saying, if you think working with a professional is expensive, wait until you work with an amateur. The same applies for this. If you think the high ticket coaching offer is expensive, wait until you buy the low ticket. You could collect a whole bunch of low ticket information, but without the implementation and accountability, you're never going to action anything that creates meaningful change. If you have a problem that needs solving, you should go with a premium coach who's going to guide you through the solutions. I am the same when I pick my own coaches to work with. I want to work with the top coaches and the top people. Yes, I know they are more expensive, but as I price up, I get a premium level of service, accountability, and results. Lastly, and one of the most important for me, is that this business model creates freedom and lifestyle. The dream is to work anywhere in the world and not be tied to one location, tied to your desk, because you can access the online world from really anywhere. The freedom is through a laptop. It is location independent. Doesn't matter if you're in Barcelona, Bali, Sydney, London, Austin, LA, you could live anywhere in the world and be creating an online coaching business from your laptop. All you need is your iPhone and your laptop, some basic tools, and the knowledge of how to put this together. It is really the only business model that allows you to generate income, freedom, and impact all from behind a laptop. It is also one of the most gratifying and rewarding business models if you truly want to help people. If you have a valuable piece of knowledge that you have learned through trial and tribulation and got the end result that is desirable, then in my opinion, it is one of the most rewarding feelings to coach and teach other people and shortcut them from point A to point B. You are helping people who were exactly like you were, struggling with a specific problem, and they want the guidance to get from where they are today to where you are. It's the greatest feeling to give back. And I truly believe this is what has enabled humanity to live on for so long, is the shared knowledge through stories, through coaching, and through helping someone shortcut their success from point A to point B. This is one of the greatest business models to be getting behind in 2025. If you have knowledge that is valuable, I highly recommend that you start talking about it online to cover your marketing and content creation. You build a proper sales funnel and process, and you find a way to teach other people with your fulfillment. Combining these three, you're going to have a very successful coaching business, and it's never been easier to start. When I come back to our rubric, I want you to focus on the external market factors. These are things like market growth, pain, and purchasing power, and your internal factors as well. These are things like margin, scalability, and freedom. If you can find a business model that fits within these, you're going to have a winning business. This is something that you can build and continue to scale as your breadth of knowledge increases. All of this hedges on the ability to market yourself. If you have the ability to share your knowledge at scale, then I highly recommend that you start creating content around your area of focus. I focus in health and wealth, because this is where my existing coaching businesses live. If you are considering a coaching business or you are already a coach, then I highly recommend you pick up a copy of the coaching playbook. The principles in this video all make reference to the coaching playbook. And if you want a copy and want to scale your own coaching business, then I highly recommend you click the link in the bio.